What is the importance of Seva, and why should I do it? It's a very good question. Why? Because Seva is fundamental to Bhakti. Seva is Bhakti. They're not different. They're not separate things, actually. Because our path, like we were saying 2 weeks ago, our path is very different than many paths given to the West, or the Westerners know. And of course, often Westerners believe that the longer we're on the spiritual path, the more we sit and meditate. In some traditions, that's true, not ours. Actually, ours is the opposite. The closer we are to God, the less we meditate, the less we pray. Because we're filled up with this love of God so much that we are forced from inside. We're compelled to serve others, to serve the Guru, to give back. And because love in bhakti, or love in service, are like a candle flame. And if we try to imagine a fire without light, it's impossible. When we think of a candle flame, we think of light. But fire is not light. It's not the same thing. They are not the same thing. But it's almost impossible to separate the two. So it's the same with love and bhakti, or love and service. When we love somebody, we automatically serve them. We don't just sit there in the corner staring at them going, I love you. No, we get up and do it. We show them that we love them. And so it's the same. When we love God, we are compelled to serve the devotees. We're compelled to serve the people that are also close to God. Because we love Him, because we love her. We have to. And if we don't, then the love of God diminishes. Because imagine if you're in a relationship and you just stop showing that person that you love them, what happens? You grow apart. And then you start asking, where's the love? They start asking, where's the love? And then you get a divorce. So here, and we don't want a divorce on the spiritual path. We don't want to divorce God, okay? We don't want that. So what do? We serve. And we're compelled to do it. I know in the beginning, on the path of bhakti, we haven't been imbued with this love enough where it's overflowing. It's still like a battery, as Guruji explained it. Like the battery has, high charge and low charge. And of course, when we start on the spiritual path, we've been in the world, our inner bhakti, our inner love is low. Slowly on our spiritual path, that energy starts to rise and rise and rise and rise. If we stay on the spiritual path, of course it can reduce, until we hit a tipping point, where that point is now the love is overflowing. And then in that moment, there is no separation between meditation, prayer, seva, duty. These things, there's no separation. These things become one. And so, because, my name's Tulsidas. Obviously, I love Tulsi. If I said I love Tulsi, but I refused to serve you, her children, then something would be wrong, because she lives inside of you, and she loves you. And so the only way for me to show her that I love you, or show her that I love her, is to serve you. Because what does she need? She needs nothing. She's beyond everything. So how can I show her that I love her? By serving. Now, of course, there's different types of service. There is service which is within the material world, and then there's spiritual service. So here in Guruji's mission, in Bhakti Marga, we focus on spiritual service, not so much material service. So what is material service, and what is spiritual service? Material service is that which is like feeding the homeless. This is amazing and beautiful and wonderful. Actually, Guruji has told some devotees, go do that. So obviously he supports it. But all of Bhakti Marga, that's not something we really do. And some people have an issue with that because they say that's not fair. If we love people, we should go serve them. Yes, it's true. But when we give somebody a sandwich today, they will be hungry tomorrow. Of course, that creates some good punya, like Christ said. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was in prison, you came and visited me. And of course, he was saying, whatever you do to anybody with the correct attitude of service, with the correct attitude of, I'm doing this because you're a child of God, I'm doing this to make God happy, then of course God also receives it. Jesus also receives it. But the sandwich is gone within just some hours. But spiritual service, helping people onto their spiritual path, speaking to them about spiritual matters, sharing Atma Kriya with them, telling them that you practice Atma Kriya and it's changed your life and it's amazing. Telling them that you met this amazing man called Paramahamsa Vishwananda, you had darshan with him and it was mind-blowing. You have to come see him. This is spiritual service. And spiritual service is something which lasts lifetimes. It's eternal. And Guruji has said it, I'm going to quote him. He said, when you bring somebody on the spiritual path, when you bring somebody to Atma Kriya Yoga, the grace you receive from God is so much that even if you're God realized in the body, you still will not know the amount of grace God is giving you. You will only understand the grace when you are in Vaikuntha. Wow. Why? Because God is always reflecting us. And so every soul is a devotee of God, if they know it or not. If they, love God, hate God, or benign. It doesn't matter. Their soul is a devotee. Their soul does love God. But to bring them consciously on the spiritual path, from God's point of view, is like you have brought back his long-lost child. And what parent would not give you everything to bring back their child? Obviously, everyone would. So in this way, when we bring a soul back to God, when we bring God's child back to him or her, then the amount of grace they give us is beyond any comprehension we could ever have. And if our goal is to love, then service is, we're compelled to serve. We're compelled to bring people on the spiritual path. We're compelled to love them. We're compelled to serve them.